When it comes to weapons in D&D, not all of them were created equal, and many are considered to be mechanically subpar. On top of this, the rulebooks don't provide us much detail on these weapons, leaving us to fill in the gaps of how our weapons look and feel. Due to this lack of information, I'd like to go through and examine all the weapons of D&D to answer: what is this weapon, both in history and in D&D? How is it different from the other weapons available? And does it need to be made better, and how can we do so? For today's video, let's give a hand to a lesser known but still powerful ranged weapon, the hand crossbow. Hand crossbows, as the name suggests, are crossbows that can be held in a single hand. While I covered crossbow mechanics in my video on the light crossbow, the general idea is the same. A string or bow is pulled back behind a projectile, and the release of that tension would send the bolt flying towards a target. Unlike the light crossbow though, hand crossbows are weird. You see, while the history on some medieval weapons can be sparse at best, it's highly unlikely that hand crossbows would have ever been used. Historically speaking, hand crossbows would have been highly impractical for medieval combat. A crossbow's power comes from its draw length, draw strength, and most importantly, the size of the projectile. Measuring only 24 to 28 centimeters long, compared to a regular crossbow's 60 centimeter length, hand crossbows sacrifice quite a lot of that draw strength. Shrinking a regular crossbow down to fit into one hand cuts into the crossbow's biggest strength, simply making it impractical in open combat. That doesn't mean they didn't exist at all though. This hand crossbow is traced back to 17th century Italy, measuring only 29 centimeters long and weighing 0.7 kilograms. The running theory is that, due to the low power of these weapons that I mentioned earlier, these were likely conversation pieces for rich nobility. You could fire it at small targets in the garden to show off in front of guests, and the ornate carvings indicate a great deal of showmanship, but these wouldn't be of any use in a real fight. There were other small crossbows from the 17th century, such as this one from Germany. These crossbows would mostly fire small projectiles like pellets, and while they still required two hands to use properly, are believed to have been used for target practice or bird hunting. If shot at a vital area or at a close range, it's certainly possible that these hand crossbows could do serious harm, or even kill a person. But against an armed or armored foe, these hand crossbows would remain outperformed by their larger counterparts. While crossbows themselves were overshadowed by firearms in the 16th and 17th centuries, hand crossbows have made a resurgence in the modern era. Reminiscent of handguns, the pistol crossbow, as it's called, has found a niche among target enthusiasts and small game hunters. Made of plexiglass and plastic, while these pistol crossbows are sometimes marketed as toys, they can still be dangerous in the hands of a capable marksman. Outside of pistol crossbows, hand crossbows remain a fascination among weapons enthusiasts, and are a common sight in games like Diablo, as well as tabletop RPGs like D&D. In D&D, the hand crossbow is described as a smaller version of a crossbow that could be held in one hand. Easy to conceal, hand crossbows were favored by rogues who prefer stealth over power. Present since 2nd edition, older versions of the hand crossbow cost between 25 and 300 gold pieces, weighed between 0.9 and 1.3 kilograms, and dealt either 1d4 or 1d6 piercing damage. In 5th edition, the hand crossbow costs 75 gold pieces, weighs 1.3 kilograms, deals 1d6 piercing damage, and has the ammunition, range, light, and loading weapon properties. At first glance, the hand crossbow might seem like a downgrade when compared to the light crossbow, which is only a simple weapon that's 50 gold pieces less, has higher range, and has higher damage. However, I think the hand crossbow is actually a little underrated for how versatile it can truly be. 1d6 piercing damage is nothing to scoff at, and the light property means it can be held in one hand alongside a shield, a light melee weapon, or another hand crossbow. Plus, while I have my own gripes about how weapon concealment is currently implemented in 5th edition, a hand crossbow would reasonably be a lot easier to sneak into a crowded ballroom than a heavy crossbow. Synergizing well with feats like Crossbow Expert or Sharpshooter, the hand crossbow provides a variety of viable builds for mechanics and flavor that justify its presence and hefty gold cost. Even with that in mind, the hand crossbow is definitely more niche than the light or heavy crossbows, either due to its martial training requirement or just how expensive it is. Even if you don't take any feats to make it better, being able to fire off 2d6 damage from up to 30 feet away can sometimes end a fight before it's even begun. Plus, if your DM isn't allowing firearms in your game, dual-wielding hand crossbows is the closest you can get to being a medieval fantasy John Wick. So overall, the hand crossbow isn't necessarily in a bad spot, but it's not perfect either. The hand crossbow fills this niche spot in the game where it wants to sacrifice damage for concealment, but that playstyle relies a lot on the Dungeon Master. Plus, most characters who can use the hand crossbow have other, more damaging weapons to choose from, leaving this as a weapon that players have to specifically want to use and build for. So, while we don't need to fix the hand crossbow, I want to look at some suggestions I had for how to make it more appealing, fun, and easy to use for the players. My first suggestion is to add more types of bolts that provide alternative damage options. I always envision the hand crossbow as a weapon of assassins and rogues, but the existing rules around things as simple as poisoning ammunition make that difficult to pull off without a lot of leeway from your Dungeon Master. My suggestion is to add more bolt types to the hand crossbow specifically, including things like poison bolts, tranquilizer darts, or even explosive ammo. I mean, every rogue needs a backup plan, right? In all seriousness, I think that more ammo variety would improve all of the ranged weapons in D&D, allowing players to adapt to the different threats they expect to face and experience greater depth to their choices in the game. My second suggestion on how to improve the hand crossbow is to allow it to be innately drawn alongside another one-handed weapon. Normally granted by the dual wielder feat, adding this innately to the hand crossbow would allow a character to draw both their hand crossbows for free, providing that quick draw aesthetic alongside the obvious mechanical benefits. This suggestion is purely a rule of cool idea that I had, simply because I always liked the idea of quick drawing or quick holstering two hand crossbows, but never liked that I had to take a whole feat just to be able to do that mechanically. Adding this innately to the weapon simply strips away mechanics that prevent that fun and creative gameplay, even if the overall impact on the weapon's performance is minimal. My third and final suggestion on how to improve the hand crossbow is to add a weapon property that makes weapons easier to conceal. As I discussed in my blowgun video, concealing a weapon is something that players can already do, but it's entirely up to DM discretion. Rather than put the judgment of those rulings purely on the DM, we can instead define an actual rule for concealing weapons in the game. What I imagined was something like this, where two-handed or heavy weapons have a higher sleight of hand DC, and smaller or lighter weapons have a lower DC. Once that rule is in place, We could also add a weapon property to certain weapons that grant advantage to sleight of hand checks concealing them. This not only makes it easier to conceal those weapons when needed, but also informs players choosing those weapons that concealing them is an option in the game. All of that being said, these are just a few of my own suggestions on how to make the hand crossbow more fun to choose. I'll admit, I've been on a stretch of having to point out a lot of flawed exotic weapons recently, but the hand crossbow is one that I've honestly been looking forward to. It does good damage, has tons of opportunity for cool character ideas, and most of the tedious parts of using it will either get hand-waved by a gracious DM, or can be fixed by taking certain feats. If we left the hand crossbow as it is, it would still be a perfectly serviceable crossbow variant that holds a special place in my heart. Even then, we could still tweak some of the rules around the weapon, allowing players to focus more on the fun of the game rather than choosing the right feat that lets them start having fun. With that, we come to the end of today's video on the hand crossbow. A weapon that likely never saw battle, the hand crossbow is a really unique weapon option that allows for creative character building. By tweaking mechanics around the hand crossbow, such as ammo variety, drawing and stowing it, and better concealment rules, the hand crossbow can really begin to shine as the exotic, creative weapon that it is in D&D. However, what I want to know is, what do you think of the hand crossbow? Do you think it's fine as is? Did you like some of the suggestions I put forward? Or did you have your own ideas on how to fix the hand crossbow in D&D? You can let me know down in the comments, or you can discuss it on the Altroll Discord using the link in the description. If you want to support Altroll, you can visit our Ko-fi to leave a one-time or recurring donation. And make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to be notified when our videos go live. For now, that's all I had for you. Thank you all for watching, make sure to have a great rest of your day, and I'll see all of you next time.